Institutional and regulatory reforms play a key role in stabilizing nations and achieving economic prosperity. It is therefore essential that reforms of this nature are inclusive. At the January breakfast meeting of the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce, keynote speaker Dr. Koinsola Ajayi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and legal experts shared scenarios where Nigeria required improvement in its institutional framework.
They say that the greatest impediment to our economic development is corruption. That is what our government tells us. That is what many experts tell us, economists, and virtually everybody. They say the biggest problem of Nigeria is corruption. And we had a government that we brought in a year and a half ago that basically campaigned and was brought in on the assumption that corruption will be its cornerstone. But question is EFCC backing us, the people, or are they laughing at us? So are we taking the fight against corruption seriously? We're told by governments that the approach they're taking is to reform the institutions and processes of government. And honestly, I'm sure we would all agree that if that is what is being done, then they're being good doctors that are not just looking at symptoms, but they're going to the root cause of the ailment and trying to take out whatever the virus is to ensure that other people are not infected and that we don't have an epidemic. So the head of EFCC, Magu, you can see he's looking with suspicion on the director of Department of State Security. And so government sends the name of Magu to the Senate for clearance. Following process, institution building, and then it gets to the Senate, and the Director of State Security sends a report to the Senate that Magu is corrupt. So, what is it that we got? Is Magu still in power? Is Magu still in office? Yes. Has anything been done about it? No. Has Magu withdrawn his nomination? No. Has the federal government itself withdrawn the nomination? The answer is no. But after that, Magu has gone out with full force against some other people. The question is Magu going against the enemies of state? In other words, enemies of government? Is it going against enemies of some people? Because it seems to some of us that the fight against corruption seems to be selective, and it seems to have been directed at people in PDP. Now, if that is the case, are we seeing institutional reform? Because if I am a thief or I am corrupt, what I'm being told by both Magu and Daura, who do not take a moral high ground of ensuring that they have a process whereby from the very inner circle of government, someone that has corruption rubbed all over him will not be put forward. And that if there's a mistake in the system and that person gets through, there's something else in the system that ensures that that will stop. So if I am corrupt, and I know that all government is after is not corruption, but enemies of the state or enemies of government, then what I would do, I will steal the money, I'll be corrupt, but will not abuse government as I am doing today. So if I'm picked up tomorrow, don't be surprised for corruption. So if I'm corrupt, what we're being told is it's okay, but do not fight government.
He also spoke on the need for a pro-business governance code in the country.
I do not know many people that do not want their own, whether child, nephew, niece, cousin, uncle, auntie, adopted child, very good friend, would want their own to inherit. Nobody wants a person unknown to inherit. We all want to control those to whom we leave what we have built. So, if this is a theory behind the company, as I'm told by Mrs. Alabi, that the theory behind the company is to assure the businessman that you can carry on business and nothing will disturb you. So if this is the singular most important thing for the businessman, I mean, Mrs. Lunge, I'm sure you're not investing for me to take it. Yes. But then, guess what? So we now have rules that say that I cannot be a director of my own company after 10 years or 20 years or anything. And it's my company. I formed it with Mrs. Lunge when we were in school. And, you know, we were struggling. We built it up. It's now a Dangote. You know, this is year 20. That's okay. Both of you, out. Or they say that Mrs. Lunge and her husband and their son cannot be directors of the company. That only two of them. Now, this is what SEC code says, CBN code says, NICOM code says. I'll come back to Obaze's code. So you begin to ask yourself, so what's the point of setting up a business? Now, this is their reform. They're doing these things as a matter of reform. They're telling us it's corporate governance. But those of us that talk about corporate governance, is this what we expect? And we're mixing a company that is formed by both of us. You know what Mrs. Lunge does? She takes your money, puts it in a company, makes it very big, and then sells it to the public, and then all of you own it, and then she's a multimillionaire. But so she's made her money. She sold it. So if they say, Mrs. Lunge, okay, don't be director again, I can understand. Because now, the risk capital is no longer hers. She's just 5%. But reverse the situation. Dangote actually owns Dangote Cement 90% or 92%. And they tell him that he and his brother, who both started the company, cannot be directors. And what sense does it make? At the time when he's now built it to a company that is going to compete with one of the best 100 companies in the world. So they're beginning to tell us, ladies and gentlemen, that we should not grow our businesses. Because they say once it's more than 8, the rule catches you. So you now have a company that you have less than 8 people. So these rules, I think we need to begin to query them. And then when they say, I cannot ask Mr. Oladile to be a director of my company after 5 years. Now, how many people have his experience in the country? We must not forget something. Our institutions are producing terribly bright graduates. Graduates that are unable to comprehend the very subjects they're studying well. How do you get someone with vast experience in the public sector, in the private sector, that's come to your business and is giving you from his wealth of experience? And then at the point at which you need the person most because he's helped you to grow your business. Your business is now mature. You now need the person more than ever before. And then they said the person must leave. Ladies and gentlemen, let us look at these reforms because I think some of these things are counterintuitive.
Dr. Koinso Ajala, first tell us the role of institutional regulatory reforms in driving economic growth in a country like Nigeria.
I mean, it's clearly very critical that we have to see reforms in our institutions and in our form of governance. But I think we need to go beyond what we all parrot and go to reform of the citizenry itself. We, the led, we need to reform the way we do things. We need to institutionalize the way we live as a people. And what this means, for instance, is this. So we're asked to pay taxes. And we know, say, the rate is 10% or 20% or 30%. But then they then give us allowances, but the allowances just doesn't make any sense. So you have a total allowance of maybe 200,000. I mean, we live in Nigeria when you have no electricity, you have to buy diesel. We know the cost of renting a home, the cost of food has gone up tremendously. So at the end of the day, we must know that this is not realistic. The tax we're paying is not realistic. And it is for the citizens because the representation and taxation go together. So as citizens, it's clearly very important for us to go to those people that tax us to make sure that there is proper accountability for the money they collect, and that there's reality brought to the way in which we are taxed.
You know, if you look at the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Index, one of the very first aspects that they tend to deal with and rate in any country is the strength of institutions in that country. There's no doubt about it that without good institutions, you fail to have the framework that drives economic, social, political policies. It's almost like saying that what establishment helps to ensure that certain rules and regulations and orderly society is established. So I think the topic today was very relevant, and the speaker also showed part of the problems we have with poor institutions and institutional framework in Nigeria. Lack of consistency, not talking the same voice, personal interests, intrusion of politics, and things of that nature. So certainly was a good session and a very relevant session. A lot of interesting examples as well.
From this event, it is clear that Nigeria needs simpler and fewer laws and regulations that enable business growth and guarantee economic development.